Hello everybody, my name's Joe and I'm coming at you with a Hellish Quart demo tutorial. Today I'm going to show you a few of the basics of the game. Maybe you've seen tutorials elsewhere and just didn't get them, and maybe the way I put it will help you understand it a lot better. So first off, we're going to start with attacks. You have four main buttons. If you're using a Xbox remote like I am, you have your X, Y, A, and B button. Now respectively, these are going to be, X is going to be top left cut, your Y is going to be top right cut, your bottom left is going to be A, and finally B is going to be your bottom right cut. Now if you notice, I'm playing a character called Gedeon, and he utilizes the cross art form of Polish Saber. So when you're chaining together your lefts and rights, they work out really well together like this. Your other characters don't have that fluid motion. That's a unique thing to Gedeon. Also, your attacks will change based on your movement. So if I'm doing a top left cut, it does it like that when I'm standing statically. But say I walk forward and hit X. It does a much stronger sweeping cut. And if I walk backwards and hit X, he takes a step back. This also changes for if you want to strafe. So say I strafe away from the camera and press X, he does a sidestep and does a left cut. And you can chain this together with the cross art form attacks like this. And like I said, this is specific to Gedeon. The next thing I want to talk about is blocking. Blocking is performed automatically when you are not attacking. So if I cut towards my friend Jacek here, he will automatically block. Now, this does not mean that you are invulnerable while standing still. If I press F3 on the keyboard, you will notice that these yellow bars have come up. This is basically your stamina. Every attack you do and every attack you defend against will drain your stamina. And if it gets so low, your animation will start to change. And I accidentally killed him, I didn't mean to do that. But when your bar gets down to 0, you will become tired and you cannot defend. Another way to get around the guards is to, like I was saying before, sidestep. So if I hit him like this, he blocks it relatively easy. His sword actually stopped my sword and it did less damage. But say I did something like this. I get around his guard. And if your opponent's not paying attention and using his feet, you can get around his guard that way. So even though the block is automatic, you are by no means invulnerable when you are static. On the subject of guards and attacks, you have your long guard, or in the game it calls it a bind. This basically opens your options up to different attacks. So if I hit X, it does the traditional left top cut, but if I hold down the left trigger to activate the guard like this and hit X, it does a sneaky little false edge cut that can sneak its way past your opponent's guard if he's not careful. On the converse, if I hit Y, it will do a feint, parry kind of movement and then strike from the right. Both A and B will do this motion, which will knock your opponent's blade aside if they are also using the long guard. So you can get into some pretty tense binds where you have to be very careful about where you place your sword. Now, just like with the normal attacks, the long guard attacks can also be changed based on movement. So if I do the regular X sneaky attack like that, but if I strafe away from the camera and hit X, I will do a very exaggerated sidestep away from the camera and an additional strong attack from the left, which will get around most guards if your opponent is not careful. In addition to cuts, you also have thrusts. Now the movesets for the thrusts are going to vary based on the character. With Gedeon here, you can get him to thrust a variety of ways. You can do a long guard and press forward and hit X, which will do a thrust like that. And each character also has a special move where if you hit down, right, and then Y, it will also do a thrust like so. Like that. He was bugging out there for a second. On the subject of attack and defense, now's a perfect time to talk about chambering or single tempo defense. Two different ways to put it. Basically, the idea is you see your opponent attack and you respond with an attack of your own, and in doing so, you displace their blade and strike them with yours. Now, since the animation sets for each character are different, that means that there's different ways to do single tempo defenses for each character. One of the best ways to do it on this character that I'm playing on the left, Gedeon, is to do the move I was talking about earlier, where you hold out your long guard and hit Y, and it'll do that feint parry motion. Now what'll happen is, let me put this in slow motion so you can see. What'll happen is I'll strike, this motion will catch the blade, and then it hits. So if I just get right up close to my opponent here, and he attacks me, I'm going to catch his blade and it'll attack with the same motion. Like that. So, since that catches his blade and he immediately goes into recovery, if he's not quick enough, that will catch your opponent like 8 out of 10 times it'll hit him. Sometimes it won't hit hard enough to actually kill him, but regardless, he'll be very disoriented, and you can follow up with another strike quickly while he's stunned. Another single tempo defense with this character is a little trickier to pull off, but if you can pull it off, it's almost always a guaranteed hit to their back or side. So the idea with this one is you're going to get the saber on your right hand side, and you're going to step away from the camera, and while you're moving away from the camera, you're going to hit A. So it's going to do this. Now, that's a very quick motion, but if I put this in slow motion, you can see what's going to happen is if the opponent attacks from the right like this, what this is going to do is it's going to catch that attack, and then you're going to sidestep around him and hit him in the lower torso or the arm. And it's usually enough damage to kill. So let me just see if I can pull this off. I pulled it off, but I missed him. Let's try that again. There we go. It's a very quick attack, a little more difficult to pull off than the feint parry motion with the long guard I showed you earlier, but it's a high risk, high reward thing. But of course, you're going to have to be judging all this in real time, so it'll look more like this. Oof. I'm not quite fast enough to catch it. There we go. Very quick exchange, very quick kill, but extremely difficult to do, especially since you're going to have to be guessing that he's going to throw that attack. So, another aspect of the game, it might not seem like its own subset, but it's really important, are leg strikes. Now, leg strikes are pretty risky because your sword is low, you're crouched down. So let me put this in slow motion and show you. You lunge for the leg strike, your sword's low, but your head is exposed. So there's no way you can get your sword back up in time to defend your head if your attack fails. And the enemy will automatically drop their foot back whenever you attempt a leg strike. So let me see if I can show this. See, like that. And that leaves you wide open for a strike to the head. Now that said, there are ways that you can effectively do a leg strike. So if you're all getting up close like this, and he goes for a high strike, or, you know, like one that's more level with the head, and you go for this, even though he steps back, you will still catch his leg. And a strike that close will almost always be an instant kill. Only a few more things to go over. When you get up close like this to an opponent and you attack, you won't strike with your blade. You'll strike with, you know, basically any means available. But it doesn't do any damage, and it basically just serves for a follow-up. So it's basically whoever punches first and then follows up with their own attack. Not a whole lot to say about that. Another thing, the right trigger, when you press it and you're close enough, you'll shove your opponent, and then he'll be stunned for a brief moment, leaving him open for your attack. And in addition to those different grapples, you have an actual dedicated grab button, which will perform an execution on the opponent. So if I hit right bumper, it'll do a slice across his gut. It's an instant kill. And if I hit the left bumper, it will do a decapitation. Now, there are ways to defend against the grapple. It's really easy. Basically, all you have to do is walk backwards as they grab you. So if I do this, you'll grab him and you'll move backwards, and the execution will not go through, and it leaves him open for a follow-up because he probably wasn't expecting that. Also, if your stamina is down and you're tired, you also cannot adequately defend against a grapple. So just another thing to keep in mind. But yeah, that's pretty much a basic overview. Not a whole lot else to talk about without going into specifics for the different animation sets. I can go ahead and just load up a demo game for you and just show you some of these things put into a actual match. So I'm going to play as Gedeon and fight Yasek, and I'm going to set it to aggressive. And I'll be showing you the different techniques that we used. So automatic blocking. Oh, you got me. I'm going to try to do a single tempo. Ooh, you see he shoved me and it stunned me. Go for another single. Ooh. Tried to go for another single tempo defense there, didn't quite connect. There we go. And I followed up with a combo from my left to my right. I'm going to put out my long guard and try to do some sneaky attacks. He caught me with the shove and followed up with a combo. I'm going to attempt to sidestep him now, and it was successful and struck him on the back of the neck. I'm going to try the other single tempo defense. And he caught me right as I was moving and changing stance, so I wasn't able to defend against his attack to my hand. I did the move. It wasn't quite a single tempo defense, but it did kill him, and it caught his blade afterwards, which kept it from hitting me, so that's always a plus. And try some different combos now. I didn't quite get a chance to show them. He left himself open. Going to try some thrusts. Didn't quite connect. Ooh. Since the automatic blocking kind of leaves their middle constantly defended, more or less, it can be rather difficult to get a thrust in. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's just another tool in your toolbox to use against the opponent. Do some undercuts. Let's see if we can finish it off with a leg swipe. Oh, didn't quite get it. Oh, there we go. He he did the right thing in attacking me when he saw I was going for the leg, but unfortunately I was too close and his blade didn't connect with my head. And that's what won me the game. Well, anyway, I hope you guys found this useful, and you'll probably have some more Hellish Quart content coming up. I'm really enjoying this, and I'd like to dedicate whatever effort I put in videos to this game in particular. It could use a lot of press. It's got a lot of potential. But anyway, yeah, if you guys have anything, any suggestions, anything I could have put in the video that I didn't, just let me know. Anyway, thanks. Y'all have a good one.